You ever look into someone's eyes and realize they're smiling, but their soul isn't? I'll never forget the first time I saw it. She was laughing at something I said, head tilted back, light catching her hair just right. Everyone around us thought she was happy. Hell, I thought she was happy. But when the laughter faded and her face settled back into stillness, there was something else there. Something hollow. Like watching someone go through the motions of joy without actually feeling it. It wasn't sadness exactly. Sadness has weight, presence. This was different. This was the emotional residue of someone who'd been hurt so many times that feeling anything real had become too dangerous. She'd learned to perform happiness instead of experiencing it. And in that moment, I understood something that would change how I saw relationships forever. The women who've been emotionally damaged don't always show up with warning labels. They're not crying in corners or broadcasting their trauma. Most of the time, they're magnetic, intense, seemingly together. They've learned to armor themselves so well that you'll fall in love with the fortress before you realize there's someone trapped inside it. It's not about judging her. It's about understanding what you're walking into before you lose yourself trying to fix someone who's forgotten how to feel. These are 7 signs she's emotionally damaged from her past, and number 4 will break your heart if you ignore it. 1. She avoids real vulnerability but acts emotionally intense. Here's what this looks like in real life. She'll tell you about her day in vivid detail. She'll laugh at your jokes, text you paragraphs, maybe even cry during a movie. She seems emotionally available, right? But ask her about her deepest fears, her real wounds, what keeps her up at night, and suddenly she's got somewhere to be. The conversation shifts. She deflects with humor or sexuality, or by turning the question back on you. She's learned to perform emotional intimacy without actually being intimate. It's a survival mechanism. Somewhere in her past, she opened up, and someone used it against her. Maybe she was vulnerable and got abandoned. Maybe she shared her truth and was mocked or betrayed. So now she gives you emotional intensity as a substitute for emotional honesty. It's like offering someone sparks instead of fire, movement instead of warmth. Think of it like this. She's become an actress in her own life, playing the role of an emotionally open woman while keeping every real part of herself locked in a vault. You're dating the performance, not the person. And here's the warning you need to hear. You can't build a foundation on theater. Eventually, you'll realize you know everything about her except who she actually is. And by then, you'll be so invested in the illusion that walking away will feel like abandoning someone, even though they were never really there. 2, she tests you constantly, pushing you away to see if you'll stay. This one's brutal because it feels like emotional whiplash. One day she's all in, texting you good morning, making plans, talking about the future. The next day she's distant, cold, unreachable. You didn't do anything wrong, but suddenly you're being treated like you did everything wrong. She'll pick fights over nothing. She'll withdraw affection without explanation. She'll create drama where there is none, and then watch how you respond. It's not conscious manipulation most of the time, it's a test. She's been abandoned before, probably when she thought things were perfect, so now she needs to know, will you stay when she's difficult? Will you chase her when she runs? Will you prove you're different from everyone who left? The psychology here is rooted in something called anxious attachment mixed with self-sabotage. She wants love but doesn't believe she deserves it. So she creates situations that confirm her deepest fear, that you'll leave eventually anyway. It's like watching someone set their own house on fire just to see if you'll bring water or gasoline. Here's the metaphor that stuck with me. She's pushing you away with both hands while silently begging you to pull her closer. But here's the thing, brother. You can't win a test you didn't know you were taking. And even if you pass one, there's always another. You have to understand this. Her trauma will turn your love into a gauntlet. And the more you prove yourself, the harder she'll push, because deep down, she's not testing your commitment. She's waiting for you to confirm that she's unlovable. Don't sacrifice your peace trying to fail her into healing. 3. She moves too fast or refuses to move forward at all. This sign shows up in extremes, and both versions come from the same wound. Either she's talking about moving in together after 3 weeks, or she won't even define the relationship after 6 months. There's no middle ground, no natural progression, just 0 or 100. When she moves too fast, it's because intensity feels like intimacy to her. If things are moving quickly, she doesn't have time to think about whether this is real or whether you'll hurt her. The speed becomes a drug that numbs her fear. She's trying to outrun her own doubt by locking you in before you see the broken parts. When she refuses to move forward, it's the opposite expression of the same fear. She keeps you at arm's length because labels mean commitment, and commitment means vulnerability. And vulnerability means she could get destroyed again. So she'll give you everything except a title, everything except certainty. She'll act like your girlfriend but freeze when you try to make it official. Both extremes are forms of control. She's either controlling the pace to avoid being hurt or controlling the pace to avoid being left. But relationships aren't supposed to feel like you're either sprinting or standing still. Imagine trying to dance with someone who's either spinning too fast to hold or standing frozen in place. Eventually, you're not dancing together anymore. You're just exhausted. And here's what you need to know. Healthy love has rhythm. It builds, it breathes, it moves at a pace that honors both people. If you're always being rushed or always being stalled, you're not in a relationship. You're in someone's trauma response. And you can't love someone into changing the tempo when they're the ones refusing to hear the music. 4. She speaks about love like it's a battlefield, not a safe space. This is the one that breaks my heart every time because you'll hear it in her language before you feel it in her actions. Listen to how she talks about relationships. Listen to the words she uses. She'll say things like, I don't let people in anymore, or I've built walls for a reason, or I always get hurt, so I hurt them first. She'll describe past relationships like war stories. Every ex is a villain. Every breakup was a betrayal. She's always the victim or the warrior, never just someone who loved and lost like the rest of us. And when she talks about you, even when things are good, there's this undercurrent of inevitability. Like she's waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like she's bracing for impact even when you're holding her gently. The psychology here is that her past has taught her that love equals pain. Somewhere along the way, the people who were supposed to protect her heart became the ones who shattered it. So now she sees relationships through a lens of survival instead of connection. She's not opening herself to you. She's fortifying herself against you, even while saying she wants you. Picture it like this. She's building a fortress in the middle of a garden. You're offering her flowers and she's stacking bricks. Not because she doesn't want beauty, but because she's been conditioned to believe that anything beautiful will eventually be used to hurt her. Here's the truth you need to sit with. You cannot be someone's healer and their partner at the same time. If she sees love as a battlefield, then she'll treat you like an enemy soldier even when you're trying to be her ally. And no matter how patient you are, how gentle, how consistent, she'll keep expecting you to wound her. Because that's what her history taught her love does. And brother, you can't rewrite someone else's story by being a character in it. She has to put down the pen herself. 5. She has no close friends or only surface level connections. Pay attention to her social circle because it'll tell you everything about her capacity for trust. If she has no close friends or only friendships that stay shallow, that's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. She'll have acquaintances, people she parties with, works with, follows on social media, but no one she actually calls when she's falling apart. No one who knows her middle of the night thoughts. No one she's vulnerable with. She keeps everyone at a safe distance, including you, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. When someone's been emotionally damaged, they don't just lose trust in romantic partners, they lose trust in people, period. Friendships require vulnerability too. They require showing up, being consistent, letting someone see you without makeup or filters or performance. And if she's been hurt deeply enough, she's decided that kind of exposure isn't worth the risk. The behavior shows up like this. She'll cancel plans last minute. She won't reach out when she's struggling. She'll keep conversations light and avoid anything that requires her to lean on someone. She's the friend who's always fine, even when she's clearly not. She's mastered the art of being around people without actually being with them. Think of her like an island. Beautiful, maybe even captivating, but completely isolated. No bridges, no boats. Just water on all sides, keeping everyone at bay. And here's what this means for you. If she can't maintain deep connections with friends, people who have no romantic expectations or history with her, what makes you think she'll be able to sustain intimacy with you? Emotional damage doesn't compartmentalize. If she's shut down in her friendships, she's shut down everywhere. You'll feel it eventually. The loneliness of being with someone who refuses to truly be known. 6. She's either hyper independent or completely codependent. This is another one that shows up in extremes, and both are red flags waving in the wind. She either refuses to need you for anything or she can't function without you. There's no balance, no healthy interdependence where two people support each other while maintaining their own sense of self. The hyper independent version looks strong on the surface. She's got her own money, her own place, her own life. She doesn't ask you for help even when she needs it. She'll struggle in silence rather than admit she can't do something alone. And it sounds empowering until you realize it's not strength, it's fear. She's terrified of depending on anyone because everyone she depended on let her fall. The codependent version is the opposite but born from the same wound. She attaches to you like your oxygen. She needs constant reassurance, constant contact, constant proof that you're not leaving. Her mood depends entirely on yours. Her plans revolve around yours. She loses herself in you because she's terrified of being alone with herself. Both versions are exhausting. With hyper independence, you'll feel shut out, unnecessary, like you're dating someone who doesn't actually need a partner. With codependence, you'll feel suffocated, responsible for her entire emotional state, like you're not a boyfriend but a life support system. Imagine trying to hold someone who refuses to be held, or trying to breathe while someone's clinging to your chest. Neither feels like love. Both feel like desperation wrapped in different packaging. Here's what you need to understand. Healthy relationships exist in the space between needing someone and being able to stand alone. If she can't find that middle ground, if she's living in one extreme or the other, it's because her past taught her that balance isn't safe. And until she learns that lesson herself, you'll either be pushing against a wall or drowning in quicksand. Neither position is where you're supposed to be. 7. She apologizes for everything, even when she's done nothing wrong. This one's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. She apologizes constantly for small things, for things that aren't her fault, for existing in a way that might inconvenience you even slightly. Sorry for texting too much. Sorry for being emotional. Sorry for needing you. Sorry for taking up your time. It seems polite at first, maybe even endearing, but it's not politeness. It's a wound that's learned to speak. Somewhere in her past, she was made to feel like she was too much, too needy, too emotional, too complicated, too broken. Someone made her believe that her presence was a burden, and now she apologizes for taking up space in the world. The psychology behind this is what's called hyper-responsibility mixed with low self-worth. She's been conditioned to believe that anything that goes wrong is somehow her fault, that her needs are unreasonable, that asking for anything makes her difficult. So she shrinks herself, apologizes for existing, and tries to be as low maintenance as possible so you won't leave. You'll see it everywhere once you notice it. She'll apologize for being sick, for having a bad day, for not being in the mood, for expressing an opinion you disagree with. She's constantly trying to make herself smaller so you'll find her easier to love. Picture someone walking on eggshells in their own life. That's what this is. She's so afraid of being abandoned for being human that she's trying to apologize her way into your acceptance. And here's the hard truth, brother. You can tell her she doesn't need to apologize. You can reassure her 1,000 times. But until she believes she deserves to take up space without permission, she'll keep shrinking. And watching someone you care about make themselves smaller and smaller just to feel worthy of love will hollow you out from the inside. Because you can't pour worth into someone who's convinced they're worthless. They have to find it themselves. Look, I'm not telling you to walk away from every woman who's been hurt. We've all got scars. We've all got stories that shaped us in ways we didn't choose. But there's a difference between someone who's been damaged and someone who's doing the work to heal. There's a difference between carrying wounds and weaponizing them. Trauma doesn't disqualify someone from love, but unaddressed trauma will sabotage it every single time. And as men, we have this instinct to fix, to save, to prove that we're different from whoever hurt her. But here's what I've learned the hard way. You cannot love someone into healing. You cannot be consistent enough, patient enough, perfect enough to undo what someone else broke. Empathy without boundaries is just self-destruction in disguise. You can care deeply about someone and still recognize that they're not ready for what you're offering. You can see her pain, understand where it comes from, and still choose not to drown in it with her. Real love requires two people who are willing to show up whole, or at least actively working toward wholeness. If she's still living in the wreckage of her past, if she's running from it or controlled by it, then what you're building together isn't a relationship. It's a rescue mission. And rescue missions don't end in partnership, they end in exhaustion, resentment, and two people who've lost themselves trying to find each other. So pay attention to these signs, not to judge her, but to protect your peace, not to write her off, but to see clearly what you're walking into. Because the most loving thing you can do for her and for yourself is to stop pretending that your love alone can heal wounds you didn't create. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is step back and let someone find themselves before they try to find love. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see how far these messages travel. If you've ever loved someone who was emotionally damaged, type 1 in the comments. If you haven't, type 0. Your story might save another man from learning the hard way. And if this resonated with you, if you felt something shift while watching this, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the truth is uncomfortable, but it's always necessary.